Namaste. As we journey through life, most of us will experience a wide spectrum of relationships. Parent and child, brother and sister, husband and wife, employer and employee, co-workers, neighbors, relatives, friends. But there is one constant behind all these varied relationships. Each and every one is with a soul, and God dwells in that soul. The Quran teaches, everywhere you turn, there is God's face. Gurudev Paramahansa Yogananda encourages us to look into the face of every person we meet and think within, it is God who has taken that form. In the ultimate sense, in all our interactions with others, we are really dealing with God. By looking for and acknowledging spirit in others and in ourselves, we take an important step in spiritualizing our relationships. Before creation existed, Spirit was one, omnipresent consciousness. When Spirit brought forth creation, that one became the many. Everything created, everything that exists, you and me, animals, birds, plants, trees, everything is part of God. For nothing can exist outside of that one, all-inclusive, omnipresent consciousness. In order for the drama of creation to play out, Spirit needed to draw a curtain of Maya over everything, giving the illusion that creation was separate from the Creator. To help us understand this concept, Guruji uses the illustration of waves on the ocean. Think of a large, totally calm, placid ocean, rippleless, totally unaffected by any outer forces. Now, imagine a storm blowing in and lashing that placid ocean, whipping up waves and froth. Those waves came from the ocean and will melt back into the ocean. They were never apart. It is the same with us. We are never apart from Spirit. When the calm ocean of Spirit divided itself into the many little wavelets of creation, the force of Maya produced the illusion of separation from Spirit. But we are never apart. That is why Master affirmed, "Thou art the ocean, I am the wave. We are one." Our souls know this to be true, for we are programmed, so to speak, to seek realization of that oneness, of that union with God. Yet when we take human form, we become subject to the wiles of duality and are prone to forget or doubt that truth. It behooves us then to remind ourselves of the inseverable link that our own soul and every soul has with God. To remember that we are all waves in the ocean of Spirit. That is why I chose to begin tonight's talk on spiritualizing marriage and relationships with the sublime greeting widely used in India, Namaste, my soul bows to your soul. It is the destiny of every soul to be reunited with Spirit. And the magnet, the great, attractive, unifying force by which God is drawing us back to Him is love. The more we are able to open ourselves to that love, to connect with that love, to fill ourselves with that love, the more natural it becomes for us to share that love with others. Guruji tells us, live, love yourself, and your goodness will inspire all your loved ones. Love is the magic elixir, the harmonizing, unifying element, the key to spiritualizing our relationships. What do we mean by spiritualizing relationships? The word spiritual signifies of God, holy, divine, inspired. Spiritualize means to elevate character, person, thoughts to a spiritual level. So to spiritualize our relationships means to elevate them. And we do this through love. For love takes all our relationships, both human and divine, to a higher level. Our eternal relationship with God is our primary relationship. Whether we realize it or not, all our other relationships are conditioned on how we relate to God. If we wish to spiritualize our human relationships, the place to begin is by deepening our connection with God, the source of all love. We cannot give what we do not have. When we are able to draw close to the divine beloved of our souls and experience his love, then we have that gift of love to offer to others. Please close your eyes for a few moments and take these illuminating words of Guruji into your heart. To develop pure and unconditional love between husband and wife, parent and child, friend and friend, self and all, is the lesson we have come on earth to learn. Let me repeat. To develop pure and unconditional love between husband and wife, parent and child, friend and friend, self and all, is the lesson we have come on earth to learn. When we die, God isn't likely to ask us how many degrees we earned or how much money we have in the bank or how many possessions we accumulated. But he is likely to ask, did you learn to live love? We all know in our heart of hearts that a perfect love exists, that we can experience complete, ultimate, all-fulfilling love. But under the influence of Maya, we all too often expect to find that ideal love and perfection in other human beings. Very few of us can say, as Sri Yukteswar did, I do not expect anything of others. If we are honest with ourselves, we would have to admit that most of us expect quite a bit of others, of our spouses, our children, our parents, our friends, relatives, co-workers. Yet God is not asking us to judge or criticize others or to see how much others can do for us. What he is asking us to do is to give love to all. To, in Master's words, heed the voice of love within. Live love. Practice it within and without. Wherever you go, give love and understanding. Fortunately for us, we have in Gurudev's teachings a toolbox filled with many practical and useful tools to help us live love. Since this How to Live Love toolbox is carried in our hearts, it is completely portable, and we can take it with us wherever we go. Each tool has a lifetime guarantee. Although the directions do specify that these special spiritualizing tools need to be used regularly. and perhaps oiled or sharpened a bit from time to time in order to keep them in optimal working condition. Let's take a peek into this toolbox and see what we find. This first tool is an excellent all-purpose tool for general use, whether we are trying to build, repair, or improve a relationship. The tool is send out only thoughts of love and goodwill. One of my fondest memories of Sri Dayamata is from one day when we were working together. She suggested we take a little break and led me into her kitchen and fixed something for me to eat. I could tell she had something on her mind. As we sat at the kitchen counter together, she shared some of the difficulties she had passed through, especially during the early years of her presidency. As she spoke, I realized that she had a purpose in sharing these stories. She certainly wasn't simply reminiscing. She wanted me to understand and to take to heart the lessons she had learned from her experiences. Namely, love is the way to reach people, to change people. No matter how others treat you, just keep giving love. Never close your heart. She said it may take a long time to bring about a change, but by keeping your heart open and continuing to send out thoughts of love, eventually the person will come to realize that your love and goodwill are sincere. One of the stories Ma told me that day may be familiar to you, as it is included in her book, Finding the Joy Within You. During a banquet at one of our temples, a woman who was not an SRF member criticized Ma to those sitting around her in a voice loud enough to be sure that Ma would hear. Although initially shaken by the woman's ill will, Ma refused to allow her mind to be affected. As she told me, as Gurudev taught us to do, I began sending her waves of love from my heart. When Ma gave a talk after the meal, she spoke from that same loving state of consciousness. Later, the woman who had been so critical begged Ma's forgiveness. She had been won over by the power of Ma's genuine love and goodwill. An SRF mother told us how she used this story to help her young daughter. There was a teacher in her daughter's school, Mrs. Miller, who was so strict that the children had nicknamed her Killer Miller. When this little girl was assigned Killer Miller as her second grade teacher, her mother told her the story about Ma and the woman at the banquet. She pointed out to her daughter that Mrs. Miller probably had a very difficult life and needed love, and encouraged her little girl to send thoughts of love to her teacher while sitting in class, just as Ma had done at the banquet. The little girl did so and sailed through the year having a good relationship with her teacher. This young girl demonstrated the effectiveness of tool number 1. Send out only thoughts of love and goodwill. How pleased Ma would be. Our relationships with all beings, whether human or animal, are affected first of all by what is in our hearts and minds. What we say and do outwardly are simply manifestations of what we are thinking and feeling within. Before I entered the ashram, I was blessed to be able to spend a lot of my free time hiking and camping out. And the only creatures I felt uncomfortable around were snakes. I still recall vividly one hike when a brightly colored snake darted across the narrow path just as my foot was about to step in that very spot. It was pure will and fear, I have to admit, that gave me the strength to propel myself forward and narrowly avoid stepping on it. I was pretty shaken, and my hiking partner decided to take the opportunity to share with me the maxim, snakes know heart, meaning that they perceive and react to a person's thoughts and feelings. Well, I really couldn't take it in at the moment, but later, when I read about Sri Yukteswar's encounter with a cobra, I thought, aha, here is a perfect example of how snakes know heart. You may recall that Sri Yukteswar and a young disciple were seated outside the Puri Hermitage when a deadly cobra raced towards them with its hood angrily expanded. Usually, the only hope of safety is to remain perfectly still. But Sri Yukteswar gave the snake a welcoming chuckle and began clapping his hands, entertaining it. The snake, magnetized by Sri Yukteswar's caressing attitude, became motionless. Then its hood gradually contracted, and the snake slithered between Sri Yukteswarji's feet and into the bushes. That snake, like the woman at the banquet and Killer Miller, was won over by the love and goodwill sent to it mentally. Guruji explains that thoughts can sometimes be more effective than words. I can personally attest to this because of an experience I had during convocation a number of years ago when I was serving at one of the registration desks. A woman approached the desk with fire in her eyes. And since the nun sitting next to me suddenly became very engrossed in reading some papers, the woman came up to me. Everything had been going wrong for her, and she was very upset. As I listened to her, I realized that there was absolutely nothing I could say that would help the situation. So I prayed silently to Master and began sending her thoughts of goodwill. There was an almost immediate change in the woman. She suddenly stopped talking, looked at me with a softened expression in her face, and then apologized sincerely. The concept that harmonious relationships need to begin within in our hearts and minds before they can manifest without is dramatically demonstrated in a little book entitled Kinship with All Life. I'll share just one powerful example from this book, again concerning snakes. Back in the 1940s, a woman named Grace Wiley was considered one of the world's most skilled handlers of snakes with bad reputations. This is obviously not a title I would vie for. She ran a zoo in Southern California which housed almost every known kind of snake, and people came from all over to watch her handle them. When a new snake arrived at the zoo, she would receive it in what was known as the gentling room. From the safe vantage point of a window in the door, the author witnessed Miss Wiley standing motionless at one end of a heavily built oblong table, while an extremely agitated 6-foot rattlesnake, newly arrived from Texas, was freed from its box and slid onto the table. It immediately coiled itself into an attack position, eyes darting in every direction, tail rattling furiously. The snake was expecting trouble. but nothing happened. Miss Wiley did not move or make any sound. She held a stick in each hand, one with a cup-like mesh arrangement used for pushing back the heads of striking snakes. The other stick was padded with soft cloth, and it was known as a petting stick. Although she did not seem to be doing anything, mentally she was very actively reaching out to the snake, welcoming it, showering it with affection, admiration, respect, assuring it that it had absolutely nothing to fear, and reminding it again and again that it would always be appreciated, loved, and cared for in its new home. After a while, the snake began to respond to the friendly thoughts and feelings being sent in its direction. The rattling of its tail slowed down, and it began to gradually uncoil and stretch itself the full length of the table until its head was resting just a few inches from where Miss Wiley was standing. She then began stroking the snake's back, first with the stick, and then with her two bare hands. The snake arched its long back in cat-like undulations in order to better feel the affectionate strokes. The snake had been effectively gentled. It had been able to receive and respond to the loving thoughts being sent to it. I wasn't sure if I should include these stories about snakes in this talk, especially since I didn't think it was too likely I would actually encounter a snake in order to see how I would do. But in recent weeks, I unexpectedly happened upon two large snakes in two very different locations. And I'm happy to report that I was genuinely delighted to see them and was able to give them love and goodwill from my heart. Please understand that I am not suggesting that we all go out and look for snakes to practice on. For best results, Master's tool of sending thoughts of love and goodwill should be practiced daily. And he has given us a very effective affirmation we can use wherever we may happen to be. Here is that affirmation. As I radiate love and goodwill to others, I will open the channel for God's love to come to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. As I radiate love and goodwill to others, others includes everyone, all beings. Isn't it nice? We don't need to try to differentiate between those who may be, quote, worthy or unworthy of our love and goodwill. Simply include all. Radiate a sincere, peaceful, friendly, I'm interested in you message to everyone. This brings an image to my mind. When I was a child, we had old-fashioned radiators in our home. And when my brother and I came in from playing in the snow, we would huddle around the radiator for warmth. The radiator didn't choose to give its welcome heat to one of us and not the other one. It sent out its warmth in all directions. And that is what Master is asking us to do. To send out thoughts of love and goodwill to all. As a result, we will find that others will be drawn to us by the warmth of that love. I'd like to practice this affirmation together, but first, to prepare, please close your eyes again. Now think of someone or something that awakens love in your heart. Begin sending that love to those sitting around you. Let your love radiate in all directions, further and further, like ripples spreading out from a pebble dropped in a pond. Now let's practice Master's affirmation. Please repeat after me. As I radiate love and goodwill to others, I will open the channel for God's love to come to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. As I radiate love and goodwill to others, I will open the channel for God's love to come to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. As I radiate love and goodwill to others, I will open the channel for God's love to come to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. This brings us to the next tool in Master's toolbox. See the good in others. Guruji tells us, the more you see the good in others, the more you will establish good in yourself. The way to make people good is to see the good in them. No one here on earth is perfect. Even the greatest saints take on aspects of delusion. It is far better for us to see the good in one another than it is to focus on other shortcomings. Our beloved Ma certainly practiced this. Although she was undoubtedly aware of our flaws, she focused on the good she saw in each of us and did all she could to encourage us and reinforce that good. I remember how my heart would thrill when she would tell me, I have full faith in you. With all my heart, I wanted to prove her faith justified. I never wanted to let her down. Master could have been describing Ma when he explained, the godlike person of pure and high vibrational tone is always aware of the God spark in all he contacts. It is this awareness that we want to cultivate. It is to our advantage to make a conscious effort to see the good, to see God in all. For when our minds are filled with negative, critical, unkind thoughts, then our consciousness is not with God. There's no room for God. God is crowded out. Such unloving thoughts strengthen the illusion of separation, in effect pushing God away, as well as God's children. Emerson said, every man is my superior in some way. In that, I learn of him. When we train ourselves to look for the good in others, we come to understand that every soul is a potential teacher for us. Guruji assures us that no one is all bad. And he gives this analogy. If you hear someone playing a piano that has a defective key, you are inclined to judge the whole piano as bad. But the fault lies with just one key. Fix it, and you will see that the piano is perfectly good. Similarly, imagine a beautiful flower arrangement. If there is one wilted or broken stem flower, it catches our attention, doesn't it? But if we cut out that one flower, then our full attention is on the beauty of the remaining flowers. So we can choose to place our attention on the good in others, as Ma did, and cut out or refuse to concentrate on their shortcomings. The more we focus on what is less than perfect, whether in others or a work of art or literature, the less good we can see, and that's a downward spiral. As Guruji said, why gaze down the sewers when there is loveliness all around us? Look only for the good in everything. We are each tested in unique ways throughout life. The tests that your husband or wife or friend or child or co-worker may be facing could be completely different from the tests that you or I may be challenged to overcome. A virtue or ability that comes natural to one person may take another person an entire lifetime of struggle to attain. We all know how hard it can be to learn our lessons and change ourselves. When instead of judging others, we look for the good and have compassion and understanding in our hearts, as our beloved Ma did, we take another step forward in spiritualizing our relationships. When I was a girl, my mother had a favorite adage. I can still hear her voice. If you can't say something nice about someone, don't say anything at all. It sounds familiar to some. I'm sure Master would be in full agreement, as he strongly discouraged gossip of any kind. Seeing the good, believing the best of people, can bring about a dramatic difference in their behavior, and consequently, in our relationships. And seeing the good is a special dual-purpose tool. For once we see the good, we can then acknowledge that good. Again, I look to Ma as an example. While she often said that Master was the most appreciative person she knew, I've never known anyone who expressed appreciation more than Ma. Whether it was for some little kindness done to her personally, or something done for Master's work, or quality in an individual, Ma always graciously acknowledged it. Expressing sincere appreciation to others for who they are and what they do is an especially helpful tool for home improvements. Henry Ford said, "My best friend is the one who brings out the best in me." This takes us to our next tool. Expand love through friendship. Guruji tells us, friendship is the highest relationship, the highest form of love. It is God calling souls back to unity in Him. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Friendship is God calling souls back to unity in Him. When we can be a true, selfless friend, it helps our soul destroy the partitions of ego consciousness that separate it from other souls and from God. Marriage, especially, should always be built on the foundation of true friendship. A happily married father advised his son, "Marry your best friend." I did. It is so inspiring for me personally to meet couples who, over many years and perhaps lifetimes, have developed a sweet, divine friendship and become true helpmates to one another, sharing their soul's journey back to spirit. I'll never forget one husband who, to demonstrate the close friendship he and his wife enjoy, placed his 2 fingers together and said, "My wife and I are like this." They had met when they were quite young, And his wife told me that she knew when she first saw him that he would be her husband. Master explains, the treasure of friendship is your richest possession because it goes with you beyond this life. Guruji encourages us to always be on the lookout for friends from the past. When we feel a deep harmony with a soul right away, it is because we have developed a friendship with that soul in a previous life. Such friendships are a tremendous blessing. They truly enrich our lives. But they don't just happen. We worked on these relationships in the past and can now continue to build on them. So our friendships in this life may be at different stages of development. What we experience in one friendship, we cannot necessarily expect in another friendship. They are all works in progress, evolving over lifetimes. Master encourages us to try to perfect friendship with a few souls first. And he explains that when we can truly give unconditional friendship to these few, then our heart will be ready to give perfect friendship to all. Friendship is the ideal to strive for in marriage, between parents and children, with siblings, co-workers, with all we meet. What does it mean to be a friend? I compiled a partial checklist from Master and Ma's writings. It means to be unselfish, to gladly give up our own selfish pleasures or self-interest for the sake of our friend's happiness, without consciousness of loss or sacrifice. It means to be loyal, to stand steadfast by our friend, by his side, come what may. It means to offer our friend good cheer in distress, sympathy in sorrow, advice in trouble, and material help in times of real need. It means to be true, sincere, to communicate with respect, understanding, courtesy, kindness, to know when you should have the willingness to cooperate and when you should have the will to non-cooperate. Guruji says to help your friend by being an inspiration to him. Never be sarcastic to a friend. Do not flatter him unless it is to encourage him. Do not agree with him when he is wrong. Do not demand perfection. Accept each one's individuality. When couples wrote to Dayamata to ask for her blessings on the occasion of their wedding, she would always encourage them to base their marriage on a foundation of friendship. And she would often send them a portion of Master's poem, Friendship. I urge you all to read that poem from time to time. You will find the complete poem in Songs of the Soul. Here is an excerpt. Friendship is noble, fruitful, holy. When two separate souls march in difference yet in harmony, agreeing and disagreeing, glowingly improving diversely. Ah, friendship, flowering, heaven-born plant, nurtured art thou in the soil of measureless love, in the seeking of soul progress together by two who would smooth the way, each for the other. This takes us to our next How to Live Love tool, which has long been recommended by all religions. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But Master adds this little twist. For whatever you do to others, you do also to yourself. This is true because we are all united in God. We are individualized waves in the ocean of spirit. And it is also true because whatever you give out will come back to you. So we want to be more conscious of what we are giving out and more aware that spirit is secreted in every soul. Our beloved Ma tells us, think of each person as none other than the Lord, wearing a disguise to see how you will react. Look around the room. Please turn and look around the room at all the unique disguises the Lord is wearing. Wherever you turn, there is God's face. However we react to one another, whatever we do unto others, will come back to us, as this next story demonstrates. One day, the Lord said to the rabbi, "Come, I will show you hell." They entered a room where a group of people sat around a huge pot of stew. Everyone was famished and desperate. Each held a spoon that reached the pot, but had a handle so long that it could not be used to reach their mouths. The suffering was terrible. After a while, the Lord said, "Come, now I will show you heaven." They entered another room, identical to the first, the pot of stew, the group of people, the same long spoons. But there, everyone was happy and nourished. "I don't understand," said the rabbi. "Why are they happy here when they were miserable in the other room and everything is the same?" The Lord smiled. "Ah, but don't you see? Here, they have learned to feed each other." Do unto others. Everyone wants to be treated with respect, understanding, kindness. These are all expressions of love. When we offer these gifts to others, we are living love. Guruji urges us, seek to do brave and lovely things that are left undone by the majority of people. Give gifts of love and peace to those whom others pass by. An incident from the great Russian writer Tolstoy's life provides a touching example. Tolstoy was walking down the street one day when a transient approached him and asked him for some spare change. "Forgive me, brother, but I don't have any right now. If I did, I would gladly give it to you." The transient's face lit up. "Never mind, sir. You have already given me more than I asked for. You called me brother." Kindness is balm for the soul. It is a gift that can so easily be given, yet the impact can be far-reaching. As a Japanese proverb says, one kind word can warm 3 winter months. We are all brothers and sisters, all God's children, and surely God smiles when we treat one another with kindness. The Talmud teaches when a person does a good deed when he or she didn't have to, God looks down and says, "For this moment alone, it was worth creating the world." Another gift of love Guruji encourages us to offer is understanding. Everyone wants to feel understood. Ma would often quote, "With all thy getting, get understanding." She always counseled married couples who were having difficulty in their relationships to sit down and calmly talk things out, to listen respectfully to one another with an open heart and mind, without interrupting, with the aim of gaining mutual understanding. She would encourage them to adopt the attitude, "I really want to learn how my mate feels." Prayer, the last tool we'll discuss, can aid us in gaining understanding. Prayer can be a very powerful tool to help repair or improve relationships. We can pray for ourselves as King Solomon did, "Give thy servant an understanding heart." And we can pray for others, those who are near and dear to us, those we may be having difficulties with, and all God's children. Guruji prayed daily for world peace and for the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of others. He urges us to do likewise, and at the same time to cultivate a greater awareness of God's presence in ourselves and in every other living being. We can do this when we practice Master's healing technique, praying, "Heavenly Father, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children." I've sometimes heard people say that they just couldn't bring themselves to pray for someone who had angered them or hurt them. If we think about it, this is rather foolish and counterproductive. The other person may not even be aware of our feelings, and meanwhile we are clinging to our pain or our anger or our resentment. When we hold on to our feelings of having been wronged and refuse to forgive or even try to understand the other person's perspective, we reinforce the illusion of separation and strengthen the boundaries that divide us. On the other hand, an effort to understand, an effort to forgive, an effort to meet the other person halfway and restore harmony has a unifying effect, and prayer can help. Brother Bhaktinanda encouraged devotees to practice what he called the peace and harmony prayer, and many, many relationships have been helped by it. This prayer is especially effective because we pray not only for the other person, but for ourselves as well. If you practice this regularly, you will see a change come over yourself and the other person. It really works. Let's practice it now. Visualize whoever you want to pray for. It can either be an individual or a group of people. And mentally surround them with divine light. Now deeply pray within, over and over, for about 1 minute. Lord, fill them with peace and harmony. Peace and harmony. Peace and harmony. Now, visualize yourself in the divine light. And for about 15 seconds, pray, Lord, fill me with peace and harmony. Peace and harmony. Guruji tells us the spiritual relationship is the strongest bond because it is continuous from one lifetime to another. To spiritualize our relationships requires effort and commitment. It involves right feelings, right thoughts, right speech, right action. The first step is to evaluate where we stand at present. As Anne Landers advised, Don't accept your dog's admiration as conclusive evidence that you are wonderful. Master gives us this more realistic yardstick. You will know by the reaction of those about you what they think of you. We have all made mistakes in the past, but we shouldn't let that hold us back. A mystic wrote, "We are so eager to judge people by their past, and it is not fair. We are what we are now, not an hour ago, and what we are planning, not what we are vainly trying to forget." We all have things we would like to forget. But when we are willing to face our weaknesses and make the effort to overcome them, they can be turned into strengths. I'd like to give you a few examples that I find very encouraging. As a young man, Abraham Lincoln used to write anonymous letters that made fun of others and then have them printed in the newspaper or drop them on the path where they would be sure to be found. One time, the object of his ridicule was so highly offended that he managed to find out who wrote that letter and challenged Lincoln to a duel. At the last minute, their seconds intervened to call off the duel, but Lincoln recognized the seriousness of his error. According to his biographer, never again did he write an insulting letter. Never again did he ridicule anyone. And from that time on, he almost never criticized anybody for anything. As president, he was known for his uncommon restraint in his communications with others. He truly lived his life with malice toward none, with charity for all. Another example of turning a weakness into a strength, when multi-talented Benjamin Franklin, statesman, diplomat, inventor, and so forth, was told by a Quaker friend that people thought he had too much pride. Mr. Franklin determined to overcome this flaw by practicing humility. He approached the challenge as a scientist would and came up with specific ways to do this, which he said at first was done, quote, with some violence to natural inclination, but then became habitual. In his autobiography, he attributed much of his success with his fellow citizens to the efforts he made to subdue pride. And one last story. Once upon a time, in a land far away, lived two likable but undisciplined brothers. Their mischievous behavior turned serious when they began stealing sheep from the local farmers. A serious crime in this pastoral place so long ago and far away. In time, the thieves were caught. The local farmers decided their fate. The two brothers would be branded on the forehead with the letters ST for sheep thief. This sign they would carry with them forevermore. One brother was so embarrassed by this branding that he ran away. He was never heard from again. The other brother, filled with remorse and reconciled to his fate, chose to stay and try to make amends to the villagers he had wronged. At first, the villagers were skeptical and would have nothing to do with him. But this brother was determined to make reparation for his offenses. Whenever there was a sickness, the sheep thief came to care for the ill with soup and a soft touch. Whenever there was work needing to be done, the sheep thief came to offer a helping hand. It made no difference if the person were rich or poor, the sheep thief was there to help. Never accepting pay for his good deeds, he lived his life for others. Many years later, a traveler came through the village. Sitting at a sidewalk cafe eating lunch, The traveler saw an old man with a strange brand on his forehead seated nearby. The stranger noticed that all the villagers who passed the old man stopped to share a kind word or to pay their respects. Children stopped their play to give and receive a warm hug. Curious, the stranger asked the cafe owner, "What does that strange brand on the old man's forehead stand for?" "I don't know," the cafe owner replied. "It happened so long ago." Then, pausing briefly for a moment of reflection, he continued, "But I think it stands for saint." Guruji tells us, if you want to be loved, start loving others who need your love. If you want others to sympathize with you, start showing sympathy to those around you. If you want to be respected, you must learn to be respectful to all, both young and old. Whatever you want others to be, first be that yourself. Then you will find others responding in like manner to you. And we can do this more easily if we follow Master's ideal to learn to see God in all persons of whatever race or creed. Our beloved Ma prayed, "Lord, I am in this world because you sent me here. I am here for one purpose, to love you and to love your children, whoever they are, wherever they are, be they Americans, Asians, Africans, Europeans, Buddhists, Christians, Hindus, Jews, Muslims. Whatever our faith or nationality, we are all kin with one common Father. They are my own. They are part of my God." Guruji poetically expressed how we are all connected to one another through God when he prayed, "We are the petals of thy manifestation, but thou art the flower." So no matter what our race, nationality, or creed, no matter whether we are rich or poor, healthy or sick, young or old, each and every one of us is a petal, connected to one another and to the flower, to God. As we learn more and more how to live love, by sending out thoughts of love and goodwill, by seeing the good in others and acknowledging that good, by expanding our love through friendship, by treating others as we want to be treated, and by praying for others and ourselves, we will truly elevate our relationships and see them blossom while drawing closer to the Spirit that unifies us all. The Spirit in me bows to the Spirit in you. Namaste.